Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Let me know in the comments if you guys could hear me. Before we get into the topic, just do a quick mic check. Let me know if the music's too loud or if you guys can't hear me. And we're gonna go from there. Hope everybody's doing great. It's gonna be a lot of fun. In today's stream, we're going to talk about procrastination when learning to code. Happens to the best of us. I hope you guys have your coffee ready. So again, let me know in the comments if things are working. Let me know if you guys could hear me. Am I actually live? Man, last week I thought I went live. For the first 20 minutes I didn't. Pretty exciting. But anyway, let me know if you guys could see me, hear me, if everything's going good. Smash the like button already. Thank you, Adrian. Austin is really good. Thanks, Q. Except I'm not in Austin yet. I am in Connecticut enjoying the winter, but apparently Austin is getting some winter weather too. I will be back in Austin in 2 weeks, so middle of March I'll be back. But for now, enjoying the winter in Connecticut, but we're gonna have lots of fun today. So prepare those questions that you guys have, and again, we'll wait a few minutes, just chit chat. Let me know in the comments what you guys been up to, what you guys doing. Let me know if you guys could hear me. The voice and sound is okay, working properly. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Adrian. So looking good. Let me know how you guys doing. Remember, the most important part why I do these streams is because I actually enjoy talking to you guys, and I want to keep talking to you, keep hearing your stories, keep hearing from you what you guys are working on, and together we will grow and make things happen. Like I said in today's by the way, if you have your coffee, tea, whatever it is, grab it. I know it's different times. It's 12 a.m. here, or about to be. I know in some areas it's 5 a.m., which is ridiculous, but I just want to say thank you all of you guys for joining, and it's going to be great fun, great time. But before jumping to the big topic, everybody say hello in the comments, get some questions ready. Let's give a few more minutes to have some more people hop on. Enjoying my coffee. I have a new friend. I have two new friends. So this little guy, I don't know if you could see it, he blends in with everything. So my daughter, she's going overseas to Japan for 3 years. So she was very kind enough to volunteer me to be a daddy to two kittens, or I guess they're not kittens anymore. So that's my new excitement in life. So every time I'm here doing my live streams or whatever, they just jump everywhere. I'm just hoping they don't knock anything down. It'll be exciting. And I'm prepared today. I got my phone so I could look at the comments, say hello to everybody. We have nice Adrian Q, Jacode, 3D Games, Hector's here. Oh, thanks, Hector. Yep, I got two cats now. It is what it is. That's when you have kids and they're, growing up to be responsible young adults. They get cats because they love cats, and then they realize, like, hey, I'm going to be out of the country for 3 years, so I can't take the cats. And I didn't think that far apart. So I'll just give them to my dad. It'll be perfect. And so now I have two cats. Luckily, I love cats. Not a big deal. So this is great. So in today's live stream, I want to talk about procrastination. I want to share with you guys my perspective on it. And when I say perspective, that the fact that even I'm sure a lot of you guys know I'm a real human being. I'm not perfect, right? But sometimes you watch these YouTubers and it's like you look at them, it's like they never ever have issues. Everything works well for them. They never run into problems. But that's not the case with me. I'm not perfect. I procrastinated most of the week, and I was not as productive as I wanted to be. And the truth is, it's going to happen to all of us at one point or another point, or maybe happening with you guys right now. And so that's the topic I really wanted to talk about. But you know how these live streams go. At any given time, you could ask questions. We could talk about anything that we want. And talking about this idea of procrastination, wanted to talk a little bit more about time management and getting ready, to this goal that we all have to eventually landing our first job. And yesterday I talked to one of my friends, and he kind of confirmed the 3 things that we all should be doing, and you could do them consecutively. You know, spend a third of your time on one thing, another third on the other thing, another third on the other. And I'll get in more detail what those things are. Or you could do them, you know, one after the other, depending where you are on your journey. So let me look at the comments. You guys, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you guys here. Man, thanks for, yeah, I'm glad that the channel is growing too, because, and it's because of you guys. Like, thanks to you guys, you know, constantly showing up, giving the support that this channel is growing, and I'm excited to be here. And like I said, the most important part is you guys. Without you guys, this channel would not exist. So I'm happy to be having these conversations with you and engaging with you and building this community of like-minded people who are looking to switch careers or get their next job and go from there. So yeah, that's the best part about these streams. Like, I feel like, you know, we get together, like, I literally think like we're all sitting in the living room chilling together. So don't be shy, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you guys are doing. Let me know, I did the poll on YouTube, and a lot of people said they struggle with procrastination. Let me know in the comments, like, what things you've been struggling with procrastination, or some of the things maybe you've done to fight procrastination, or what has it been for you guys. For me, it's been this whole week. Like, I ended up doing some coding yesterday, but outside of that, like, work was kind of slow. I couldn't get myself to code on my own. And one of the reasons why I think sometimes I procrastinate, and this is coming from someone, like, I already got my job, I'm trying to switch jobs, and it's still difficult even for me, because you have to understand, I'm not this far ahead of you guys. I'm just one little step away. So I got my job last year, and I feel the value that I provide to you guys is that I am still in the trenches, and I could talk about the issues that I'm having, not just working, but looking to transition to a different role or a different company to get a raise and all this other stuff. And I'm still fresh enough in the fact of what it took me to get my first job, and also what it's going to take me to get another job. By the way, if you guys joining me here just now, thank you very much. Really appreciate having you guys here. This is Coffee, Code, and Chat, where we drink some coffee or tea or juice, whatever you guys like, and talk about things that will help us to land our first job as web developers, switching careers, or going into your first career. So if you're also new, I making new friends on YouTube, and there's this one guy that I've been talking to. His channel is CompSci Code Fi on YouTube, and I want to get him on the channel, do some videos together, because I think it's going to help all of us. Because what I like about him, he started as a self-taught developer. He got a job eventually through hard work, dedication, but now he's been working in the field for a while, that he's a senior developer, and he's also been on the hiring side of things. So not only does he still remember what it's like starting out, having a bad resume, looking to get started, and then also he, you know, understands what it's like to hire people. So he could give us some great feedback on what we need to do, especially when it comes to our resume and stuff like that. So keep an eye out for that, and I'll talk more about him because I think it's going to be valuable for everybody. But if you're just joining in here, we're going to be talking about procrastination and some of the ways or things you should do if you're looking to get a job and you're looking to get a plan of how you should structure your studying to be able to make sure that you getting things done that you need to get done to feel ready to get your first job. So let me take a look at the comments here. How you guys doing? Yeah, you know, Jaco, that's totally true. Like, what if procrastination come from the fact that maybe I feel low self-esteem, and I feel like developers are way better than me and I can't compete. You know, the truth is, like, that's where everybody starts. I feel that way to this day, and I know there's certain people that look at me and feel that way about me. They're like, wow, Paul knows a lot more than I do. But I started not knowing anything, and it's interesting because I always was talking to my friend, and I was like, hey, my cat just tried to jump on top of me, sorry about that. And then I'm losing my train of thought already. But anyway, so when I first started out, I was like, how do you know, like, how are you going to become like a mid-level developer or so on? Because when I first started out, I felt like like none of it made sense to me. And over time, slowly but surely, I made this transition from where I didn't know anything to knowing a little bit more. And then now when I look at code, things make a little bit more sense to me. And the things that I don't know, I'm able to look up. But I don't remember when that transition happened. And I think that's exactly what happens to most of us. We start learning to code, we start doing the work, nothing makes sense. And then one day, little by little, it starts clicking. And then all of a sudden, things make sense. And I will talk about the way you should study and things you should do to kind of help to expedite that. But at the end of the day, there is no super secret outside of just putting in the time. And this is unfortunately something a lot of people don't talk about, is that coding is hard. It takes time to learn and it takes work to accomplish. So keep those questions going. The linguist is here. Jose is here. Claudia's here. Adrian. Everybody's here. So let's see. Yeah, Jose, totally. When you feel tired after work, you tend to procrastinate. That's normal. Like, that comes down to this idea that willpower, it's like a muscle which has, certain amount of like potential in you. So when you go to work and you make decisions, you actually draw on your willpower, and by the time you get home, your willpower is gone, and all you want to do is relax and watch YouTube videos. And that's perfectly normal, and that's something that I used to do all the time. One thing that helped me with that, by the way, and this is something you have to think about, is actually waking up earlier and doing your studying before work. So that way you're fresh, you get your studying in for an hour, 45 minutes, whatever that time is for you. Go to work, do your work. When you come back, you could relax, watch some YouTube, and if you do feel up to it, try to code. But what I would say, no matter if you decide to code in the evening or in the morning, we do have to have that daily consistency. Another thing with procrastination, sometimes if you don't have a goal, and this is something somebody asked me last time, and I'm not the best at setting goals in terms of learning web development, but I do try to stay organized and have, weekly goals. They are kind of not concrete, but I at least have an idea of what I'm trying to accomplish with the things that I want to do. And that also helps with procrastination. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the fact that we do have to do the work. And the one thing that really helped me, and this is something I definitely recommend to you guys, is to start forming like mini habits. And you could look on YouTube what mini habits are, but in a nutshell, it's basically creating a habit that is so easy to get started that anybody could do it. Like, for instance, if I wanted to, practice, like I wanted to write a book, I wouldn't say like, I'm gonna sit for an hour a day and write like 2 chapters in that hour, because that's a ridiculous goal. Your brain's gonna look at you and be like, Jesus Christ, I'm not gonna do that. That's hard work. You're asking way too much from me, especially if it's not a habit to begin with. So instead of trying to sit for an hour and write, what your mini goal could be, your mini habit that you're trying to build, is just say, I'm going to sit down at the table with a piece of paper and pen, and I'm gonna write my first sentence. If I write my first sentence and I finish, fine, goal accomplished. If you decide to write the second sentence or a paragraph, that's fine too, but your bare minimum metric for your success for that goal is like write 1 sentence. And what you want to do is basically every day sit down. Some days you'll just write that 1 sentence because you're tired, you don't want to do any work. On some days you'll write more, but over time, day 30, day 40, your brain's going to get accustomed to this idea. This is your time to sit down, this is your time to work, and it'll be much easier to convince yourself to sit there for an hour and to write or study code or whatever it is. So let me take a look at the comments, not get too far from here. Yeah, Adrian, that's a great idea. So basically setting goals of certain specific topics that you want to learn and just going through them. Yeah, and Claudia, that's so true. Like, studying at night is very difficult. I, by nature, am a night person. So I feel at night I'm left alone and I'm able to study. But, I know for a lot of people, studying at night is very difficult, and it requires a lot of effort to just even get started. So this is what I recommend, is try to go to bed a little bit earlier and waking up a little bit earlier and trying to make your study time before work. I know it's also hard, especially if you have kids or family, and if you have to wake up even earlier, that's something that will help you. At least you wake up, you get it out of the way, you get your work done, and you're able to move on, to your work. And by the time you come home and you're tired, it's okay. You could sit down and relax. Yeah, Adrian, I definitely want to do more collabs. And the reason I do live streams, by the way, is because I do want you guys to ask questions and get answers to, and also talk to, other people in the community, engage. I think that's very important. Watching collabs and watching stuff like on videos, and I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to do one about resume building with, somebody that I met through YouTube. I have a couple of others like collabs planned. I am going to do it. But honestly, the truth is, for this channel, I love to make content. I want to make content. But at the end of the day, if you're just watching my videos or you're watching, this live stream more than you are coding at home, like, I would say, don't watch the videos and try to get into a habit of coding. Because at the end of the day, what I want you guys to do is reach your goal and get a job as a developer. And that takes work. It takes, practice. And it is the way it is. And that's the and that's how it goes. Yeah, the linguist, thank you for that. You're like all the things that I should be talking about, I always forget, and you're a good reminder. Yeah, dealing with procrastination is also having a community project and working on it is very important. So we do have a Slack channel. We do have a community project that you work at your pace, because I totally get it. Everybody has different responsibilities, work, and not everybody could put the same time in as somebody else. But we do have a community at Slack where we have a community project where we work on projects together. It's not me holding your hand and kind of helping you write the code. I do encourage you to look stuff up on Google, Stack Overflow, and we do have a lot of people in the community that help out. But at the same time, I want you to learn through struggle. And if you're really, really stuck, you're more than welcome to schedule a one-on-one with me, and we could talk about things. And that's available through our Slack channel. And if you want to join, you could go to codingafter30@gmail.com, send me an email, and I'll add you to it. And the process that we're going through on our community project right now, we're in the basic HTML and CSS phase. You should be able to take a mock-up or a website that you like, and you should be able to basically copy it and recreate it with HTML and CSS. The next phase after that will be adding some simple JavaScript functionality, not too much, but just enough so you understand, basics of JavaScript. And then the third step is to move into React and basically learn how to create all of our applications using React. There's nothing wrong with doing stuff with vanilla JavaScript, but most of the jobs that you're going to go and apply for, they're all looking for a library like React or Angular or Vue.js. So just learning JavaScript by itself is not enough. At least it wasn't for me when I was looking for a job. And that's why I believe that looking to build things in React and building things the way you would be building them at your job is super important. So what I want to do is kind of go over this thing. I'll go over it again, right? I'm going to go over it right now. I just want to show you because I don't want to forget while I have you guys, because this is very important, especially when you're just learning to code, or you've been learning to code, or you're about to start looking for a job. This is the 3 areas you cannot not focus on. That was weird. These are basically the most 3 important areas that you need if you want to switch careers, if you want to get a job. So I'm going to go on my screen. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to explain what it is. Also, throw some questions, throw your comments. Love it. Smash the like button, the usual stuff. Logic, good to see you. Yeah, being self-taught is actually super difficult. I think going to school is much easier at this point, but school is expensive, and that's another commitment. And so, you gotta do what you gotta do. And for me, the self-taught route is the one that I took. But this is what I want to show you here in a self-taught route. Let me know if you guys could see my screen in just a second here. Oh, here we go. Clicking buttons, moving mouse. All right, I hope you guys could see my screen. Let me know in the comments. So this is, if we're going to talk about, I know we talk about procrastination, but this is going to be the most important part of the live stream. The most important part of the video is to get this idea of these 3 things. And if you think of them in thirds, these are the things you should do in third. And let me know if you guys could see my screen, because I don't want anybody to miss this. Make sure you guys could hear me. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. So these are the 3 areas that you have to develop. And I'm going to explain them in a second and what goes into each area. And you may fall into 3 categories here. You could be a complete beginner, just starting out, don't know anything. You could be in the midst somewhere where you kind of know something, but you don't feel like you're ready to get a job, and you feel like you need to build more projects in your portfolio. And you could be in the third position where you have a portfolio, you have the projects, you feel kind of comfortable with your language that you've been learning, and now you're starting to look for jobs. And that's where you were focusing on interview prep, making sure your resume up to snuff, make sure your LinkedIn profile is awesome and ready to go. And that's the 3 things that you basically cannot skip. So I'm going to first describe what these things are, and then if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment. But when you're a beginner, the first place you start is domain knowledge. And I call it domain knowledge, but this is like basically your main core language that you're learning. For me, it was a front-end developer with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and React. That's my domain. That's the only thing I'm going to focus on until I get a job. For some of you guys, it might be, Angular, HTML, CSS, and Angular. Right? For some of you guys, it might be ASP.NET and C#. Maybe for some of you guys, you're not even interested in web development. You guys studying Python and data science. That's your domain of knowledge. So if you do not understand basics of programming, if you don't not sure, you can't build anything, or at least make sense of the language, or make sense of HTML or CSS that you're looking at, this is where you need to spend all your time in. And this could be your first 2-3 months just developing that domain knowledge, right? And I always talk about that you need to have a cornerstone project, but at this point, if you're just starting out and you're not sure what anything is, how can you build anything? So while you're starting in this first quadrant or circle, your domain knowledge here, you're learning your HTML, CSS, you're doing your JavaScript. This is where it's okay to build these smaller projects, because you're in your learning phase. You're learning the language, you're learning HTML, CSS, you're getting basic. And this is a period where 2 to 3 months from here, I wouldn't be in this area more than 2 to 3 months, because you have to understand, at the end of the day, if you want to get a job, you need to have projects in your portfolio, and then you also have to do interview prep. And you could actually do these at the same time. You could do 1/3 here, 1/3 here, 1/3 here. But if you're just starting out, spending most of your time improving your domain knowledge, for me it was JavaScript, React, HTML, CSS. That's the most important. Hey Luke, you made it. Oh my gosh, great to see you, my man. What do you think about Blazor? I'm trying to focus on C# and put off learning React. Luke, if you learn C# with ASP.NET, you can't go wrong, and then you could learn React afterwards. And there's nothing wrong with that. I went React first, and now I'm learning C#. So you're literally going the different approach. You're doing C# first, and then I'm going to learn React after, and that's perfectly fine. What I would say, don't try to learn too much and everything at once. The linguist has a great question. Why stop learning React? That is a great question, and I think it really comes what you're trying to accomplish first. If you're working with ASP.NET, C#, obviously you're going to learn some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but you could create with their MVC pattern, or if you just want to do backend and doing their web APIs, you could get far before learning React, right? For me, I don't. When I first started, I focused on, I'll come back to these circles in a little bit. Let me answer that question. When I first started, instead of committing to ASP.NET C#, I committed to JavaScript as my main language, and my entry into the field was with React.js. And this is something that I recommend. If this is something that you don't want to do because maybe you like C# much better, that's perfectly fine. you do the same approach, but you do it with C# and ASP.NET, and you work from there. What I'm saying is like pick one entry point into the door. For me, JavaScript makes sense because anything web related, you need to know JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So this is where I start first. Now, after I got my first job, at my job, we use C# for our backend. I started learning C#, and I'm currently learning C#. But what I'm saying is decide what your domain is, decide what area or point of entry you guys feel you have the best chance of getting that job, right? And do that hardcore. So your domain knowledge, right, could be your ASP.NET and C#, where for me, it was React and JavaScript. But whatever it is, don't try to do everything at once. So you don't want to do like, you know what, I'm going to do C#, ASP.NET, React, Angular, Vue, PHP, Python, because you're going to get overwhelmed. So ASP.NET and C# has everything you need to build a website, to build a portfolio. So that's one entry into the field. For me, I did opposite. I did React, JavaScript, tech first. I'm building front-end applications. So once you decide what your domain of knowledge is, and the first 3 months, you guys spend here learning the basics of programming, learning the basics of whatever your domain is. Like if it's React, you do React. If it's ASP.NET, you do ASP.NET. If PHP WordPress, you do PHP WordPress. If it's Python and data science, you do Python and data science. After 2-3 months, you have to have a hard limit, because if you haven't moved to projects for your portfolio phase, that's where people complain about being stuck in tutorial hell. It's like they do tutorial because they don't feel confident enough to be able to jump into this step, building projects. And guess what? You will never learn how to build projects from tutorials. You will learn to build projects from building projects, from failing and struggling, right? That is how you learn to build projects. And this could be another phase, 2 to 3 months. You could be here where you're building projects, you're building up your portfolio, maybe you're spending most of your time building projects, and then when you get stuck, you go back and you learn something around your domain, whatever that may be, like if it's JavaScript, React, and that's what you focus on. After you've built 2 to 3 projects, this step, interview prep, becomes like super important, because at the end of the day, you need to be able to get an interview. You have to be able to pass an interview to land your job. Portfolio will help greatly, especially if you're just starting out. But if somebody's asking me, when should you learn data structures and algorithms, I would put them in this step, interview prep. Only learn what you need for the interviews that you're going to go. So if you're applying to companies, try to look up their reviews, try to connect to people who either work there or who apply there, and ask them about their interview process. So you can, and I think you could go on certain websites. I think Glassdoor shows what the interview process is, and basically just study for that particular interview. And this is the same step in the interview prep where I would put, make sure you have a good resume that is optimized. Make sure you have your LinkedIn profile or wherever you are, which is optimized. You have your portfolio site, which showcases your projects. And this is the last step that you should focus most of your time, like when you're looking to get a job. And like me, I'm looking to transition to another job. This is the step I'm focusing on most, or at least should be focusing on. If I don't have portfolio, if I don't have basic domain knowledge, I should not be spending anything or any time in this step, because I'm not prepared to even take this step. So when you're starting out, number one, domain knowledge, spend 2 to 3 months here, understand the language, the tech that you're building stuff. 2-3 months into it, start building projects and spend most of your time here. Do not get caught in tutorial hell where you're going to get stuck and you're not going to be able to move on to the stage, because you're always going to feel like, man, I'm just not ready. I don't think I could build a project. I don't know how to build a project. The reason why you don't know how to build a project is because you never practiced building the project. So you need to start building the project. You need to start putting in the work, building your portfolio. This is where learning to build stuff and solidifying your knowledge, this is where it happens. This is the secret right here. And once you have 2 to 3 portfolio items, then you go to the interview prep. That's when you write your resume, put your projects on it, optimize your resume to make sure you have all the proper keywords that an automatic scanner would recognize. based on your strengths, and make sure you have a good profile, make sure your portfolio looks good and all your projects work. And by the way, depending where you are, if you're brand new, this is where you're spending your time. 2-3 months into learning your code, force yourselves to build projects, and they don't have to be like best projects. I'll show you an example of projects in just a second and the tech that I'm using. And then when you want to get a job, serious about your job, you need to practice interview prep. You need to practice data structures algorithm. Not all companies do it, and part of my strategies is find out which companies don't do algorithms and data structures through their interviews and apply to those companies, right? Because it's just going to be easier for me, because I know that data structures and algorithms is not my strongest point. And I know there are companies that don't do that type of whiteboarding interviews. They might do project-based interviews where they ask you to come in and build something within an hour or so, which I prefer the best because I know how to build stuff. I've been practicing building stuff, so I could do that. So part of your strategy could be taking the interviews where you're building stuff and going from there. By the way, I describe this as taking it 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, but you could do all of these at once. And maybe if you're a beginner, you're spending 80% here and 20% or 10% here, 10% here. As you understand the basics of the language you're learning, you kind of feel comfortable. Maybe you spend more time building projects, portfolios. Now I'm at a phase where I'm actually doing all 3 at a certain extent. I'm still trying to learn new things because of my job. I need to learn C#, so I'm focusing on C# and how it fits with creating API for React, because that's what I do at my job. I still work on my projects, and 40% of my time I'm spending on interview prep to help me be able to land that next job. So let me kind of take a break. If you're just joining us, thank you for joining us. If you're here, I just want to say thank you to you guys too, because this community exists because of you guys, and I can't thank you enough for joining me here and having this discussion. I hope it's being helpful. If you have any suggestions, definitely let me know, because this is not about me talking. This is about us working together and helping the whole community to reach their goal of getting their first job or switching careers. So let's look at the comments. So, Adrian, I am going to transition to basically same job. I just want higher pay. So in US specifically, if you work at a certain company, you're not going to get raises. I mean, you will get a raise, but they're not going to be significant enough compared to actually going and getting a job at a different company. So maybe you'll get a raise, couple of bucks at your current company or whatever that promotion entails. But going to another company, you might get a raise of $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 extra a year. So in US, at least, a very common practice is switching to a different job, switching to a different company to get a pay raise and also work on other projects and hopefully learn new things. And so that's what I'm looking to do, but I'm still looking for React front-end development jobs. But I'm also saying that I'm familiar with like basic backend, basically, C# backend, and also I'm familiar with how to connect and consume APIs. I'm familiar with SQL and GraphQL and all this other jazz, but mostly 80% of the time I want to spend on the front end, basically working in React and stuff like that, because I feel that's where I'm strongest at. So that's where I'm looking to apply to the job for. The link is, how about GitHub repositories? Do companies look at your GitHub profile? What should be there? If you have my GitHub is terrible. Like, it's so messy, it's so inconsistent, because I just put everything on it. I think like you could put GitHub links, but what I heard from a lot of people that are doing the hiring, nobody really goes to GitHub and pulls your code and looks at it. Like most of the time, no, like they want to look and make quick decisions, 2 to 3 seconds. They look at your resume and they decide, look, we don't want to hire you, or we want to hire you. We want to at least give you a chance. So when they look at your resume, at those 2-3 seconds, they will decide if they want to go ahead and give you an interview. Now, if they're considering giving you an interview, then they're going to look at your portfolio and look at your projects. And they're just going to make sure that stuff works. If they're clicking around and stuff breaks, then don't have it in your portfolio, because as soon as they click something on your portfolio and it breaks, they're just going to be like, oh, this guy's not ready. Let's move on to the next candidate. So like GitHub is important. It shows that some people will maybe look at it and look at your history. So if you look to get a job, like make sure you have like, you know, like some sort of history. It's not like I didn't code for past 3 years, but I don't think it makes a big enough deal. I think your portfolio projects are going to be more of a sell, especially once you get your interview, where you could bring up your portfolio projects and talk about them, show them the code. But more importantly, it is going to be your ability to do well in the interview, and your ability, if you don't have prior experience, is to have a good portfolio. For instance, one of my friends, he's a senior dev. He doesn't have a portfolio because he doesn't need it. He worked at really good companies at like senior roles for many years. So when he goes and gives his applications to somebody, they look at his past history of jobs, which were all amazing companies, and they give him interview based on that. And at the interview, he has to perform well at the interview, right? But to get his foot to the interview, it's just his experience based on his jobs. I can't do that. If you're just starting out, you can't do that. You need to have a portfolio. You need to have projects to show that showcase your experience. Even having an internship makes all the difference. So if you could get an internship so you could put on your portfolio. You can't get an internship, build your portfolio, 2 to 3 good projects, and put them on your resume. And I'm looking to get somebody to do a collab with me, talk about resumes, the best way to write resumes, what you should have on the resume. Keep an eye to those videos. I'll let you know as I make them, because I think that's very important. And so for us, having a portfolio is super important. And then eventually, once you work as a developer for 4, 5, 6 years, you won't need a portfolio, because they'll just look at your history of your jobs you had and your positions, and they'll be like, hey, he definitely knows what he's doing. He's been at these companies for this amount of time. But once you get to your interview, yeah, you're going to have to show that you know the interview. And there's different types of interviews. For me, I'm telling you right now, if I have to do data structures, algorithms, I would do poorly. If I have to do the type of interview where I have to build something, I would feel more comfortable and confident doing that to get a job. And basically, take every interview you can, and hopefully the one you get is going to be the one that you want. And from every interview, just whatever, like this is what I do. If I don't get the job, I always ask, what could I have done differently? What could I have done better? I'll literally ask them, like, why didn't you not hire me? And they'll usually tell you sometimes, unless they're ghosting you. And then I work on fixing that. But that's what I would say. So let me like take a look at the comments here. Yep, like you have a demo. Yeah, Hector. Having a demo of projects for HR to try, or whoever's hiring, is the most important thing. Like, they need to be able to, and they got to be working projects. Like, I'm working on one project right now. I'll show you in a second. I don't put it live right now because it doesn't work. It's not finished. So if I put something like that in my portfolio, like, I won't get hired. You need something more refined, and it's better to do a simpler thing that works than something complex that breaks. And you definitely want to make sure at some point you have some complex applications that you build, but you know, they don't have to be that from the start. And many algorithms books are in Java. That is true. And not many algorithm books in JavaScript. That is also true, right? So what I did, and there's some courses you could find. You could go to Coursera, and you could pay for courses there, but you could also audit courses for free. And there are college level computer science courses you could find there. And there's some courses in computer science and Python, algorithm and data structure. Some are in Java, and there may some in JavaScript. But if you can't find a course in JavaScript, take a basic computer like data structures algorithm course in Python. It's not that much difficult to use, or C#, even if it's Java, just to get the basic understanding. Again, you don't have to be a master at it. You just have to have basic familiarity to be able to answer questions. And also there's places like Lead Code that I don't use to practice algorithms. I like Code Wars, just a little bit simpler for me, and I do get the practice that I need. And eventually, one day, I will try out Lead Code and let you know how it goes. Yeah, if you could see this, my cats found a bag and they're having a picnic there. I would move the camera and show you, but it's okay. Anyway, so if I'm distracted, it's because my cats are going crazy. So let's look at the comments here. Yeah, JavaScript used to be considered a toy language, but now anything web related, you need JavaScript. And if you ever created apps with vanilla JavaScript versus creating apps with React, React makes things just much faster. And I know there's other technologies, and it's hard to, like, as long as you're doing, like, you can't go wrong with JavaScript and React. You can't go wrong with ASP.NET and C#. You can't go wrong with Python and data science. So, so if you're doing any one of those languages, like, you can't even go wrong with, like, PHP and WordPress. If that's something you want to do, from my experience, I've seen that PHP and WordPress developers get paid less, at least in my area, compared to React jobs. So that's why I don't do PHP. But if you pick the top 3 languages like C#, JavaScript, Python, if you really like Java, like I don't, but if you do Java and do that, you'll get a job. There's plenty of jobs to go around. You just can't do everything. You got to pick your domain. You got to pick what you're going to focus on and go from there. And let's see here. I'm looking at the comments. Yeah, syntax is similar between all the C-related languages. That's 100% true. So if you understand C#, looking at Java is much easier. Or if you know C++, doing C# or Java, like all C-based languages is basically the same. Just maybe slight variations here and there. But yeah, if you know what, when I started learning to code for fun, I got a book on C, and I did all the tutorials in the book. I finished by making like a little card game in C, which was all like, console based, and never had to use C ever again. Don't have desire to do C, but learning C has helped me to learn all the other languages. I'm not saying that's something I would recommend you do. I just like learning coding, and so I wanted to give it a try. Just did it for fun. But pick the language that you want. If you're going to do JavaScript, learn JavaScript. If you're going to learn Java, learn Java. If you're going to learn, C#, learn C# and stick with it. Don't hop around and switch, because believe me when I tell you, once you learn one language well, learning another language, like 80% of the work is done. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, for fun, I was working on this React app where I want to learn how to basically be able to use a WordPress backend with a React front end. And so while I was working on the WordPress portion of it, there's code I had to fix in PHP. It's been forever since I've done PHP, but it made sense. A function is a function, you know what I mean? And array is an array. Object is an object. So I was able to easily follow along, figure out what I need to do, and change it. And so that's kind of the advice I give you. Focus on your domain. Make sure you learn it well. Make sure you build projects on it. And so let's see here, more comments. All right, from Hamza, which backend do you use? I use C# because our API is built with C#. So that's something I'm doing because it's something I'm using at work. When I'm applying to my next job, I'm not going to say that I do C# because I really want to just get a React job and JavaScript related job. Like, I'll more likely say that I'm familiar with Node.js. Not that I don't like C# or anything. It's a great language. And if you learn to write C# well, that does translate to other languages. So I definitely recommend C#. Right now, I'm not going to go full stack. I just want to focus on the front end. I'm a new developer. I've only been working for a year, and so I'm not in no hurry to do the full stack environment. And so, but I am going to continue to learn C# as my backend language. So my goal for 2021 is get a different job as a React front-end developer and continue to develop my skills in the backend with C# and ASP.NET. And do I practice questions on Code Wars? Code Wars is my favorite place to practice stuff. I haven't used it in a while. I'm going back to it because I'm starting to do interviews. And so I really like going to Code Wars and just working on figuring things out. It's like not as stressful as lead code. It's easy to jump in, and like as you go up in katas or down in katas, because it's like 8 is the easiest, and then they go 7, 6, 5, 4. They get more like complicated, and so that's a good practice. So I'm at the place where I love Code Wars and I use Code Wars. I think I should make some more videos on Code Wars. I think it's going to be excited. But with that being said, let me kind of jump back, because some of you guys just joining in, or maybe you've been here and saw this. It's okay. I'll kind of quickly explain. So we've been talking about procrastination. We've been talking about some ways to kind of get yourself back into a habit of getting work done. But I also wanted to mention the 3 things that you have to focus on if you want to land a job in web development, that you can't skip, you have to do. And depending where you are on your journey, if you are brand new, just starting out, or you've been doing it for 3 to 6 months, like here, I'm going to show you. And this is something I just talked to my friend about. But here's this idea, and I broke it down into these 3 kind of areas. And you could spend a third in each one, or if you're just brand new, you could spend more time in your domain knowledge. And I just put domain knowledge just to be general here. But that basically means if you're a React and JavaScript developer, your domain knowledge is React and JavaScript, and that's what you focus on and do. Don't do anything else. Only do the thing that you want to get the job in. If you are ASP.NET and C# guy or girl, this is what you do. Don't do anything else. Like, do the one thing that when you go to get a job, that's what you're going to put on your resume. I want to get a job as a React developer, you know, with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Or I'm the guy who wants to get ASP.NET. So this domain knowledge phase, you should spend, if you're brand new, right, how can you build a project or a portfolio or start on one if you don't even know the language? So when you're just starting out, your first 3 months, you spend building that domain knowledge, build that skill to understand the basic languages that you need to know to get stuff done. Now, 2-3 months into it, force yourselves to build projects. The reason I say force yourselves is because if you don't, and for me this was 5 years building domain knowledge, is basically I got stuck in tutorial hell, and I was there for many years, I would say, on and off, right? So it took me a while. Don't follow my example. Don't get stuck in tutorial hell. Force yourself 2-3 months into it, start building projects. Doing this domain knowledge, learn JavaScript, how the language works, do tutorials is not going to teach you how to build projects. The reason for that is because you're following other people's tutorials. They already build the stuff for you. You're just kind of coding along with them, kind of copying the code that they wrote. You're not creating anything on your own. So you're missing the most important part, which is building stuff from scratch. Developing stuff from scratch. Developing stuff you have to think through. You're going to run into problems. You're going to have to think through those problems and solve them. So if someone asks you, how do you build a portfolio or projects for your portfolio? You start building projects for your portfolio, right? This should be like the bigger circle. More important here. Because that's what's going to teach you to build projects. And this is like the area where you have to spend most of your time if you want to build projects and have a portfolio. Most people don't. They're stuck in this domain knowledge. They keep jumping tutorial from tutorial because it's exciting. You think you're learning stuff. You're following with the instructor. You're building things. But at the end of the day, if you close your computer, you sit down at your computer, and you try to build something, you won't know where to start. So you definitely have to work on building a project, building something for your portfolio. And once you build 2 to 3 projects, right, you're now ready to start looking for jobs. So you start focusing on your interview prep, doing data structure and algorithm questions, using something like Code Wars, making sure your resume is well written in a way that you're hitting all the keywords that those automatic machines need. You make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date, your GitHub is up to date, your portfolio works, and you go hard until you get your job. And I'm at a point where I'm doing all 3 of these, and right now I'm spending 40 to 50% of my time on interview prep because that's what I want. And I spent about the other like 30% building my projects and working on my portfolio because I'm redoing it because now I know more than I used to know when I first got hired. So I want my projects to reflect that. And then I still learn new things in my domain. Like I'm still learning new things in JavaScript, React, and C#. By the way, let me look at the comments. And before I look at the guys, just want to say thank you guys joining me on this live stream. Remember, I do these because I enjoy talking to you guys. I love having these discussions that we have. I love to hear from you guys. So don't be shy in the comments. Let me know, how you guys doing, what you guys building, where you guys getting stuck, any advice, not just for me or for anybody in the comments, because I want to have a community where we all grow together. And again, without you guys, this channel would not exist. So I really, really thank you guys for being here and helping me grow this community together. And let's take a look at the comments here. And Luke, great question. What I think about CRM as a portfolio project? I think that would be definitely a good project to build. From my experience of working with CRMs, not building them, but working with them, I'm like, that's a pretty complex portfolio project. So definitely, you could probably build something super complex and keep building it in complexity to do all weird things. So yeah, that's definitely a good project. It is similar to the bug tracker, and I feel bug tracker is a little bit easier in my case. And again, I think with a bug tracker, you could basically do the same thing, take it to that next level, the same. So I think CRM, bug tracker, or some sort of content management thing, I think anything where you are basically creating, a front end, and then you also have a back end that you either created yourself or implemented with some sort of authentication, basically in a database where you're able to get data to and from. That basically covers that whole spectrum of the things you should have. And basically for me, because I'm a front-end developer, I don't build APIs from scratch at the moment. I find ones and implement them because I want to focus more on the front end. And if you're a back-end developer, you could focus more on building the API and working with a database. Then the front end, you could make something and use Bootstrap because you don't really care how the design looks, and Bootstrap will make it look nice enough. Or you could do that whole full stack route where you build the front end separate and then you build your API separate and put them together. And so what I would say, whatever project you pick one, stick with it until you finish it. I have 3 projects going on and it's a headache, but I committed to that, made a mistake. I should have been working one project at a time. And right now I am working one project at a time, and I'll kind of show you what I'm building. It's still a work in progress. And when you're building a project, whatever tech you decide to use, commit to those things ahead of time and just say to yourself, you're not going to add new things and you're not going to change things, because you don't want scope creep and add more things than that you committed to from the beginning, and having your app get out of control. So decide what you're going to commit to and just stick with it. And if you want to put something new in it, like different tech or something cool you're learning, save it for the next project. And Luke, do I use link queries in C? Yes, we do write link queries in C#. This is also something I'm still learning. But yeah, so part of my job sometimes is I'll write a front end in the React of a certain screen that needs to get certain data. And then what I would need to do is implement us being able to hit the API. And sometimes when I implement the API, I'm like, oh shoot, nothing's happening. And then I'll go look at an API and I realize that controller has not been implemented or written. So I will have to create that controller. Luckily, I don't have to create it from scratch because there's other examples of controllers somebody else created. So it's a lot of copy and pasting. And then I will just look up link query that I need to get the database items that I need, and then be able to pass them through. So that's kind of like where I'm at with my backend developer development. Basically, I go back and edit the backend code. But yeah, link is super important. Definitely should be familiar with it if you're learning C#. And yes, we do use it at works. So guys, keep those comments coming. Ask those questions. Love to hear from you guys more. And yeah, go from there. Let's see, look at the comments. Yeah, by the way, guys, if you want to build a project as a community together. We do have a Slack channel. We do focus on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React, and at least for the front end. So if that's something that interests you, you could email me at codingafter30@gmail.com. Go from there. But I could, like, you know, while I have you guys here, I could show you like the project that I'm working on. It's still work in progress, still fairly new, but I will show it to you guys. And when I talk about picking the stack that you need to know, I will show you as an example here. So if you guys could see my code screen here, you don't have to understand the code. I'm just gonna kind of do the super brief like folder structure here. So basically in this project I have my front end, and the front end is a React app that I created using Create React App. And so this is all React on the front end. Then I have back end here, which is I have server, and I did not write this. If I need additional functionality, I could go and add code to this, but I did not write this API. This is actually Strapi API. It's pretty amazing, and what it allows you to do, it allows you to set up a quick and easy backend, which you could connect to via REST API, or I decided to learn a little bit GraphQL. So for this project, I am using GraphQL. So before I show you the rest of this, I picked my stack for this project, and my stack was React for the front end. For my back end, I chose Strapi, and this is not something that I created from scratch. I'm implementing it. And for my database, we're using MongoDB, and I'm using I think the website is like Atlas, where you could like host your database on the cloud, and it is connected through Strapi, and that's how I get connected to my database. To consume the API, I'm using Apollo to be able to make the GraphQL queries. So I'll show you an example query here. So here's a basic query that gets a project based on the ID. Again, don't worry about it if you don't understand the code. I'm just saying as the overview, I'm going over the tech that I'm using. So I'm using GraphQL and Apollo on the front end. And this is Strapi, the back end here. You see it easily allows me to create clients, projects, tasks, and you know, I could either add stuff here through the app, or I could add it through my application, which I'll show you in a second. And what I like about this, because I'm more of a front-end developer, I don't want to spend too much headache or time trying to learn how to create a back-end, right? I have the 80% of the back-end created here, and I could go into the code and add additional functionality. I just realized I'm not showing you the other screen, so let me go back, show you the other screen. So here's Strapi, right? It allows you to easily to create items. Like you could create clients, you could create projects. This could be whatever. There could be foods, whatever you want. You could create different things that you want to be able to keep track of, and you could add all this stuff here. The whole point here, like, I'm not going to have clients use this as a back end. Like, you'll be able to log in through the app, which I didn't implement the login option, but you'll be able to add stuff through this app. By the way, this is a simple app. Still a lot of work in progress, but basically this is going to be a task management app. You will have your clients have projects, and those projects will have tasks. You're able to track your time. If you click this play button, nothing happens yet. I didn't implement the time tracking thing, but as you're working on this project, you'll be able to kind of track your time, how much time you spent working. It's all going to, I know the screen is small, but it adds everything together. Like, for instance, like how many hours did I work? 40 hours. And so basically 40 hours at $100 an hour, it'll be like, okay, they owe you $4K. And eventually you'll be able to hit invoices, and it'll calculate everything automatically and send your client the invoice. None of that implemented yet. I'm just getting the basics. And so this is the app that I'm working on to kind of give you an idea of what you should make. So this is my time tracking app. But here's the thing, like, so Strapi, you could log into Strapi, and I could add a client here and stuff like that. But that's not what my user is going to do. Like, so you could set up this backend and never use it, but you just have a place to have an API to connect to. So for instance, if I wanted to add a user, and forgive the form, I don't really care how this looks at the moment because I want to get the functionality, and I'm going to say test user 2 and some at email.com. And if I hit submit, right now the way that's implemented, I do have to refresh to show the screen because I have to fix that in code. But as you see it, I have test user 2 here that I just created. The test user 2 right now doesn't have any projects, doesn't have any tasks. And if you go to the backend of the API here, and I refresh this, let's see, go to clients. Let me refresh this. You see that I added test user 2. And so I don't have to add things from the backend. I could actually add things programmatically through my application. So that's like one cool benefit of, using Strapi to create a quick backend. And I don't want to spend too much time here, but if, I could add a project through here, I could add clients. So this allows me to have a backend and allow me to focus on creating and writing my code and working on my front end portion of the application. So I don't want to bore you with the app, but the idea is when you're just starting out, like learning full stack development is a very noble idea, but it is a lot of work, a lot of study, like a lot more extra things that you have to do and learn. Excuse me, guys. So instead of trying to learn everything underneath the sun, I'm really focusing on just learning 80% front end and then understanding enough of backend, 20%, that I'm able to at least to connect and consume a backend API and understand enough that if I have to go into backend and make some small edits, I could do that. But the thing that I don't have to do is build something from scratch. Now, some people don't like the front end. So some people will just go dive in right into learning backend and spend most of the time there working on the backend, working on the dealing with the database, getting data from the database, and all that other great stuff. And so that's what you do. And some people want to do full stack. For me, if you're brand new, if you're just learning to code, going full stack right away is tough and a lot to learn. What I would say is decide what you want to do, focus on that, get your first job, and then, like learn the second part. Like I got my job, I worked there for a year. Now I'm learning to build, back-end APIs from scratch. But it wasn't required for me to get that job. So only focus on the things that will help you get your first job. So let me look at the comments, see how you guys doing here. Can't see my comments. Here they are. Hey, let's see the comments. Listen, if I have one person ask all the questions, that's awesome. You know what, Luke? You're not monopolizing anything. Keep asking those questions. I think everybody should ask questions, but if you're the only one asking questions, I don't care. If there's 10 people, 1 people, 20 people on stream, we're going to have fun. We're going to talk about, we're going to work on things. So you're not monopolizing anything. I think it's very helpful and very good. And let's see here. And let's see, should I learn Python if I want to get into web dev? Freddie, like, it really depends. Like, I don't think Python is the best for web dev. I think if you're going to go to web dev, doing HTML, CSS, JavaScript first is important. If you know that there are Django and Python jobs where you live, then I guess Python is good. But I would say learn Python if you're looking to do data science and stuff like that. That's probably more appropriate. Again, I'm not a Python developer, but I do talk to a lot of people, and there are jobs available for web development with Python, but majority of people, if they do Python, they use it for data science. So that's something that I would really think about when choosing a language to learn. For me, if you're going to do web dev, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is a must. And then in terms of backend languages, I think C# is great. And JavaScript with Node is great. Some people like Java is great. Even PHP is great. Python is okay too. So for backend language, you do have all those options to choose from. And then Freddy, your next question: how do you decide if you want to do front end or back end? Now, I would say it like this: if front end doesn't interest you, you don't want to design pretty boxes and lay out the application, and you don't really care how it looks in the front end, and giving animations, then maybe front end is not interesting to you, and you could just dive into back end. Meaning that if you just like to look at code all day with nothing visual and just look at database all day and write queries to get data and write controllers that basically add the function to the API, and you don't want to look at the front end, then that's what you do. And that's where a lot of people, they like a little bit of both, so they do full stack eventually. But in my mind, starting as a front end developer is probably an easy way to get hired, And again, I'm highly biased because that is the path I took, and this is how I got hired. I have a friend who basically, his first programming language was SQL, and he just got certified, managing SQL databases, and that's where he started. Then he learned a little bit of PHP, and then he eventually went into being a back-end developer. So there's many paths, but the most important thing is choose one and go at it. Now, if you're just starting out, by the way, brand new, it's okay to jump around for a little bit and experience different things so you kind of know what you like, what you don't like, but don't fall into a trap of learning something, number one, that is not in demand. So search in your area to see what languages are in demand, they're hiring, and make sure you're learning at least one of those languages. And then eventually understand that you will have to come up with a focus and focus on that one thing, a narrow path to land you and get you your job. So let's look at some more here. And you need to be good at CSS. To be honest with you, so there's web development and there's web designers who design how the thing looks. I think for CSS, you don't have to be a master of CSS, because most of the stuff that you don't know, you'll be able to look it up, as you need to. You just have to understand the basics, and you should be able to take any website outside of the fancy animations, and you should be able to recreate it with basic HTML and CSS. That's basically how much you should know. And if you do need to make something complex, you'll basically learn it on the job how to do it, unless you specifically want to be known as a CSS master who specializes in animations with CSS. Very particular case. Then you need to know that part of it really well. But at my job, majority of people just have good understanding of HTML and CSS, enough for them to be productive, and the stuff they don't know, they're able to look it up and learn at work. So, and then Hamza, yes, learning Redux at this point, probably not as important as it was 2-3 years ago. And so if you're learning Context API, just get really good with that Context API, and don't worry about learning Redux unless the job that you're working, they require you to learn Redux. Then you could just take, some time and learn Redux. But at this point, unless that's what you guys doing at a job, don't spend too much time on it. But I would say, if you know all the new features of React, if you're able to write React and use context for your state management, once you know all that stuff, then go ahead, learn Redux, because it won't hurt you, but you don't have to focus on it from the start. Actually, it's a bad idea to focus on the start, because it'll just confuse you and make things more difficult to learn. And at my company, our application used to use Redux, but we actually factored it out, because for what we were doing, it was not necessary, because Context API was able to solve a lot of our issues and stuff like that. And see here. So Luke, I haven't tried Vue.js. I hear a lot of good things about it. The only reason I haven't tried Vue.js, because in my opinion, was that there were more jobs available in my area using React. And so maybe Vue.js is a better coding experience, and building personal projects is awesome. But in my area, there weren't that many jobs compared to React jobs, so that's why I focus on React. If I looked at the listings at my area and I saw that there were 80% more Vue jobs than React jobs, I would definitely be learning Vue.js for sure. But I haven't tried it. I'm sticking to my guns by learn one technology that you want to get a job at and just focus on that until you get your job and don't jump around. So that's my take on Vue. And I'm probably not going to learn Vue at this point unless I am getting hired at a job and they're like, we're decided to use Vue.js. We're going to pay you to develop in Vue.js, so I will learn Vue.js. But at this point, I'm focusing on React. That's basically what it is for me. And then, yeah, I see you use it for personal projects. That's been the case for a lot of people. They use Vue.js for personal projects. And it's great from what I hear. But for me, I'm only doing things that relate directly for me to getting a specific role or a specific job. So it's nice to learn other things. But if you're not working in the field, like if you already have a developer job, yeah, learn whatever you want. But if you're just trying to break in, only learn the thing that you need to get the job and spend most of your time there, because time is limited. And I much rather know the narrow band of knowledge that I'm trying to get a job with well than trying a lot of different things. And don't get me wrong, when I first started out, I did try a lot of different things, and that actually stunned my progress. At least for me, it made it really hard to focus and really hard to study. But that's been my experience. Yeah, so Adrian, I think it depends where you work. Angular used to be super popular. It's still pretty popular, especially in huge enterprise companies. But React seems to be going up and up and up. And I knew a friend of mine who was an Angular developer. He switched to React and basically just been doing that. So there are jobs for Angular, but in US, I would say probably stick with React. But if you learn Angular and you like it, you'll get a job for sure. Which website to use to build a resume? Do you mean to write a resume? I usually just use my Google Docs. One thing, and I'll make a video about this separately. Don't want to spend too much time on it right now because I want to give a more in-depth kind of review. I did try this product where you're able to get resume templates and you just fill that information. And what I like about it, they're already created templates that they know work. And so you just fill in your information, write it. You still have to kind of write stuff in a way that you write resumes using the proper keywords and stuff like that. And they also have access to a bunch of recruiters. And so to me, I think I much rather pay like $40 for a template. And I know $40, depending where you are, could be a lot of money. But for me in the US, it's like totally worth it to buy a template, to do a resume that I know works and have other additional features than try to struggle by writing myself. And there are services where you could go and have a professional person write a resume, where you could spend $100 to $150 paying somebody to write an amazing resume for you. It's like an art and it's a skill. So if you don't feel confident in writing resumes yourself, spending money for something that's basically going to get you an interview is important. And that's why I teamed up with somebody that I will bring on. We're going to do some collabs. His channel is CompSci CodeFi on YouTube. And he has gone through the process of writing a bad resume and eventually over time learn how to write good resumes. So I want to have him do some resume reviews to help us understand what it is that we need to do. Because a lot of times I met somebody who definitely has great coding experience in terms of they probably know as much as I do, but they're still not getting interviews. And I would say it's probably because of the way the resume is written. So I have a couple of people asking me to review their resumes. I'm not an expert in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your resumes and discuss them with my friend and come up with some takeaways and some feedbacks, and we're going to make those videos, and we'll definitely let you guys know and keep you guys posted. Yeah, and Luke, you're absolutely right. Like, that's one benefit of C# is that it is very particular, like, and I guess opinionated on how you write your backend or how you implement your code. There's a certain standard that I haven't seen like in Node.js, for instance. Node.js, you could write things however way you like, but in C# with ASP.NET, there's a certain way to do things, and there's a certain correct structure that you should follow. And that's actually one thing I really like about C#, and that's why I continue to learn C# to be able to write backend with it. There's a great course on Udemy which combines C# and React. Let me see if I could find it. It's kind of cool. It's a course that just started to take to put things together. Let me go here, see if I could find it. There's not that many courses, by the way, that implement React and C# together. Let's see would I find it here. Like, you can't even find it. React, hooks. But it's an amazing course. Like, if you're looking to come up with a good way to be able to write React application, but also use the power of ASP.NET, this is probably the best course on Udemy, and I would say wait till it's on sale. Yeah, here it is, the complete guide to building ASP.NET Core and React Core. Yeah, don't spend $94. Wait till it's on sale. By the way, you could see that I own this wonderful course. But I bought this course because at work, this is exactly what we have. We have a React front end with ASP.NET Web API. And basically, this is exactly what we do. For his state management, he doesn't use Redux, he uses MobX. And by the way, the cool thing about this course, he just recently updated it like a few days ago. And he re-recorded all the videos. So it's all up to date, using all the newest stuff with React, new ASP.NET. And basically, this is what I'm using to kind of bring me up to snuff on my implementation of being able to create an API from scratch using C# and being able to connect it to my front end with React. So if you're looking to build React applications and you're also learning ASP.NET and want to see how you would go on doing that, this is an amazing course, and I'm actually going through this course right now just because this is exactly the type of stuff I do the work, so the more practice the better. So that's something I would recommend if you're looking to combine React and ASP.NET and C#. And sadly, there's not that many courses that talk about it and combine that stuff, so I just want to throw that out there just in case someone is interested. Freddie, I am a college dropout. So my story, for those of you guys interested. By the way, thank you for all of you guys who are joining. This is Coffee, Code, and Chat. I'm drinking my coffee, but the most important part is the chatting part. So please ask your questions, because at the end of the day, without you guys, without all your support, without all your love, I'm some random guy on YouTube. So I really appreciate you guys showing up and adding to the conversation. Thank you for that. And yes, my story, Freddie, is basically I've been involved in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA for past 25 years. That was like my business. Well, past 20 years, I guess. I'm 40 years old right now. So I started teaching martial arts around like 18, 19. I've been involved in martial arts all my life. And I owned a martial arts school for majority of my time due to injuries, multiple surgeries, and basically not being able to like lift my arms over my head. I could do this now. Why? Because I quit jiu-jitsu, I quit fighting, and I decided that I needed to switch careers to do something that will allow me to work remotely and allow me to basically do something with my mind rather than my body, and I guess I don't like getting punched in the face anymore. So I started to learn to code at 35 seriously. I tried earlier than that, but made too many mistakes, tried to learn too many different things. And just last year, I landed my first job. So I am self-taught, and you're 25, so you're 10 years ahead of me from the time I started learning. So you literally have your whole world ahead of you, and you could totally do this. And if you already have a bachelor's degree, that's amazing. Like, I wouldn't say go back and get another degree. You know what I mean? Actually, this is like, I'm not saying go to boot camp either, but because you got to pick one really carefully. Some of them are good, some of them are terrible. But you could do the self-taught route. But I knew somebody who kind of is on the path like you. It's my sister's friend, Melissa. She graduated in education, so she was a teacher. She didn't really like it, and she also wanted to do something else. So she has a BS in education, and she ended up going to a boot camp for 3 months, graduating the boot camp, getting an internship, and eventually getting hired. And she didn't go back to get a CS degree. She just did a boot camp. And so if you feel like you're self-motivated and able to stick to your plan that you set yourself as a self-taught developer, then self-taught is not bad, but it's the hardest path to go. So what I would say for you, it's like you're so young, you're definitely going to accomplish your goal. You just have to keep at it. You know, that's what I'm going to say at that. So Netherlands, there are more jobs regarding Angular at the moment, but they are going toward React. And that was the case in US as well. And just recently, maybe past year to 2 years, they started to really focus and going into the React way of things. So all their new projects, like they're creating with React, and all the projects that were in Angular, they're keeping Angular because they don't want to recreate old stuff from scratch. But all their new stuff going forward, they've been developing in React. I think it's still going to be popular for a while. Yeah, and React is amazing. React does rule. And yes, I'm biased to React. So if you ask me what is the best JavaScript framework out of the three, it's React, and React. Yeah, seriously, Freddie, you're coding under 30. My channel should be called old man coding, barely getting a job at 40. Because that's how sometimes I feel. But the truth is, regardless of ageism, regardless of people telling you it's going to be hard, yeah, it's true, but it's true for any field. Anything that you want to do is hard and difficult. There's really no easy way to make money. Stealing, I guess, but then, if you get caught and go to jail, that's terrible, and that's hard, in some areas. So, what I would say, don't think of it as whatever you do is going to be hard. As long as you like what you're doing and you committed to the thing that you want to do, just do with it. Do it. You gotta like it. There's a lot of people say hey, you don't follow the money. But let me tell you, doing something that you don't enjoy becomes really hard for the money, unless you're making so much money that you're able to buy happiness. But at the end of the day, you got to do something that you enjoy. And that's why I like coding. I enjoy coding, I enjoy programming, and on the money side of things, eventually you could have a comfortable life. But let me tell you, when I was a self-employed business owner, that was really, really hard. But I did jiu-jitsu and MMA. I really liked it, and I was able to make a lot of money. But at the end of the day, getting punched in the face was starting to get to me. And now, that I'm in my 40s, I'm man, preserving your brain and your mental health is super important. So I'm let me switch careers to something that allows me to not only do something that I like, but it's a very good mental exercise, solving problems and discovering new things and stuff like that. So, yep, let's see, look at the comments. Yeah, you got to create a roadmap to get a job, or you tell me to create a roadmap for you to get a job. So the basics of it, there's plenty of videos out there. But in general, what I would say is look what's in demand in your area. And these are the things you can't go wrong. You need to know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for sure. You need to learn React. And then you should know how to consume APIs. And you should be familiar with the two popular database and just generally how they work, which is SQL and then MongoDB, going from there. Bro, Freddy, yeah, you're youngish, 100%. There's no shame of wanting to thrive at any age. And I'm glad that you're joining us and you're getting into that hustle and you're getting your, your plan to get ahead and get that job and make that progress. And definitely keep us posted on your, progress. We'd love to hear about it. Yeah, man, I'm glad all of you guys are enjoying the content. Like I said, I'm so new to streaming. I'm still trying to grow this channel. We do have a community on Slack where we work on community projects together. And so if you want to join, you could go to codingafter30@gmail.com. Send me an email. I'll let you guys go. And yeah, the whole point, listen, this channel is all about you guys. You can't have a channel without the community, without the people. And I want to focus on the community first and foremost. And I want to create a type of community where it's all about you guys, your voice. And honestly, if I'm able to have a live conversation, talk with you guys and hear your voices rather than reading your comments on YouTube, I would do that. Like if I could invite you to my living room, I would do that, because this is the most important part for me, is creating a community where everybody's awesome and bringing together like-minded people to get stuff done, make that transition, get into that new career, learn that web development. So I can't say and thank you guys enough for everything and every time you guys join me, regardless of how many people we have. I value each and one of you guys because it helps me, and I'm just so thankful and lucky that you guys are here with me today. By the way, I do this live stream every Friday, 11:55 Eastern Time. If you're just tuning in, or if you ever miss it, you could always go to the channel under live streams and you could watch all of them, because they are recorded. They're always going to be posted there, and you should be able to see them. And I will time to time also share them in the community post, so that way if you missed one, you could check it out and see it. And so we've been here for about an hour and 20 minutes, so I'm going to do another 10-15 minutes. So let's do question time. Anything you guys want to talk about, let me know. I have new friends. This is one of them here. This guy. So I have a daughter. She's going to Japan for 3 years. And look, we have one jumping all over the place here. And she's like, Dad, I have a present for you. I'm like, what is it? She's like, 2 cats. I know you always wanted 2 cats. I'm like, I guess I wanted 2 cats. No, I love cats. It's super fun. But basically, I got donated 2 cats that I didn't plan on. But hey, I love animals. They're a lot of fun. Keep me up at night. And I get to do fun stuff. But anyway, yes, meow, meow. Let's look at the comments. Let's do a final round of questions, 15 to 20 minutes. Last time I said 15 to 20 minutes. We went on for another hour, but we will stick to plan. So let's do question and answer time. You could ask me any questions, web development related, life related, anything related. Don't ask me dating advice though. I've been divorced, unless you want to know what that's like. Just kidding. Keep it all related to the topic at hand, which is, web development related. So let's look at the comments. So, you know what, guys, like Coder Foundry, like I became friends with the channel. And when I say friends, I used to watch them before I even liked C# and ASP.NET. And the only reason I liked their channel is because I really liked how open they were. They never did the hard sell trying to convince people to join their bootcamp. There are other bootcamps in the past that I tried joining, and literally they would contact me like hounds every day, every night. Why aren't you joining? They would tell me about, oh, you need to pass this test, and the test would be so easy. And I realized all they wanted is to take my money. But Coder Foundry is not like that. I have no reason to talk good about them because, number one, I will never go there. Why? Because I'm already working on a job. If I were to go to a bootcamp, I would go there. You know why? But I don't benefit from saying nice things about them. They don't pay me money. They don't feed me tacos. They don't do any of that stuff. So, the only reason I like them is because they're very open and honest on their channel, and they have a very, very strict process of trying to selectively choose who will attend their bootcamp. Why? Because they know their bootcamp costs money. I think it's 15,000, maybe 10,000, I don't remember what it is. And they don't want someone to waste their money. They want to get a candidate who will invest that money in their education and put in the work to succeed. So they pride themselves in saying that they're the toughest and the hardest boot camp to get into. And you know what? I bet it's true. And based on a lot of their success stories, I think they do a good job. And obviously, you have enough people attend your boot camp, you're going to have some good reviews, and you might have some people that are not happy for whatever reasons. Now, based on boot camps and boot camp experience, I'll tell you this. I went to a vocational school in electronics. I failed out of it. I did not apply myself, and this was when I was in like 19 years old, and I blamed the school for it. I said the school sucked. They don't give you enough support. It's like, but the truth was I didn't apply myself at all. And I was the reason why I failed. It wasn't the program. And I didn't get a job because it was like I didn't apply myself. And so, yeah, I could talk about the vocational school, being like, oh, the school is terrible. But at the end of the day, I was terrible. And so I think a lot of people that have bad experience with boot camps don't make the best out of it. Or the boot camp is garbage. And I don't get that feeling with Code Foundry. But anyway, I like their channel before I even liked C# because of their honesty, their openness, and they do give a lot of value on their channel, and they don't try to sell you too hard. Man, Emmanuel, thank you for the love. I'm glad you guys enjoy my content. Cloud Coding loves me. Man, I love you guys for sure. All of you guys, I love talking to you. It's a lot of fun. But man, let's do last 10, 15 minutes strong. Ask questions about anything, about whatever. No question is too silly. Emmanuel, love that questions. What did I struggle with the most when learning JavaScript, and how did I overcome those changes? Man, okay. The biggest thing I struggled with was DOM manipulation. Being able to use vanilla JavaScript and create stuff with JavaScript and manipulating the DOM, adding like add event listeners and all this other stuff, and making sense to me. How did I overcome it? I'm gonna give you the bad answer, but it's an honest answer. I started learning React, and basically the React handles the DOM manipulation for you. It's a very intuitive way to write stuff, and so I became really good at React, and I was able to actually create more things with React than I was able to do with vanilla JavaScript. And that's how I overcame that stumbling block. And eventually, as I got better at JavaScript, I went back and I relearned all the DOM manipulation stuff to a point where I felt more comfortable with it. And this is something that I'm still constantly going back to and learning. And so that's maybe not the answer you were looking for, but that is my honest answer. And that's one reason I like React, because with basic understanding of JavaScript, you could become very productive to a point where you're actually going to be able to get a job with React. With that being said, I am not saying don't learn JavaScript. I want to be a JavaScript master, because at the end of the day, maybe React will not be popular at some point. Maybe there's going to be another framework that's based on JavaScript. So, you know, my main language is JavaScript. And at the end of the day, if JavaScript ever becomes obsolete, I will learn whatever that next language is. But yes, that was the biggest problem I had, was with DOM manipulation, and I still struggle with that. So the way I solved this, by the way, because I'm better in React than I am in JavaScript at this point when it comes to DOM manipulation, what I started doing now is I would create something with vanilla JavaScript, and then I will recreate the same thing with React. By the way, I'm not sure if you ever seen the difference between JavaScript and React, and why I tell people React will make you develop things much faster, is that when you write React, you write less code than you do using vanilla JavaScript. So let me quickly show you this example for those of you who are interested. Let me jump in here, go into pen. So I'm going to show you this example here. I have a code pen where I try things out. So here I did Kanye West app in React and Kanye West app in JavaScript. So this is JavaScript. So this is about, hold on a second, hold on. No, I lied to you. This is React. You know how I know? Because this is React, and also because it's only basically 50 lines of code. This is an API that I'm using. This is not the code that I wrote to get the voice functionality, but the actual JavaScript code is here. It's 49 lines, and it works. You know, I go to my app here. Okay, I close that window. Where's that window? Right? I click it, and it's going to change the quote, and it's going to recite the quote and stuff like that. Great. Okay, so I created the same thing with JavaScript. And let me make sure I open the right one. Okay, vanilla JavaScript. Open a new tab. Same app, looks the same, does the same functionality, but this is the code I had to write. This is all vanilla JavaScript. And keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So that's basically 150 lines of code. So I had to write 150 lines of code with vanilla JavaScript to accomplish the same thing that I was able to accomplish with React. Same thing, does the same code, same idea, 50 lines of code. So that's why I tell you guys, learn enough JavaScript to start killing it with React. Because once you learn React, you'll be able to build things much faster. You will have a nicer development experience, and also your users are going to have nice user experience because you use React. So that's why I always recommend learn just enough JavaScript to get into React and start to build stuff with React. With that being said, though, if you get to a point where you don't feel like you know JavaScript, but you know a lot of React, go back and spend more time on JavaScript. And that's the way I did it. So I learned just enough JavaScript to be dangerous in it and to be able to learn React. Then I learned a lot of React to be able to build stuff for my portfolio. And then I went back and filled in any missing knowledge in my JavaScript. And I'm still doing this to this day, being able to be competent enough to write stuff with vanilla JavaScript because I can, but building stuff with React because it's more efficient and effective, and it's just a nicer user experience from both sides. Let's look at the comments. So Luke, double equal sign, triple equal sign. So in JavaScript, to be on the safe, and this is only specific to JavaScript. I think in C# it's like different. It's double equal. But in JavaScript specifically, if you just not want to have headaches, just use triple equal sign in JavaScript. So in most cases, that's what you're going to use. That's the short answer of it. So use triple equal sign, and then you could read about why you would use triple sign over, double equal sign in JavaScript. And that's because it's a cause of many headaches. And because it's like 1:30 a.m. here, like I don't feel like explaining why. And the short answer is use triple equal sign. And I'm sorry if that's the answer not satisfactory. But I can't think at the moment. So in JavaScript, for instance, I forgot because I forget certain words in my hand. Like if you try to add a string and a number, right, it will change the number to string, and it will add and concatenate as strings. So there's that type coercion or whatever you call it. And so if you don't understand how that works in JavaScript and what has precedence, you will get into a lot of trouble using double equal sign. But if you use triple equal sign, then it avoids all those issues. That's slightly longer answer, but Google is friends. So in most cases, use triple equal sign. All of our senior developers use triple equal sign, and I just do that. Okay, see, slow brain, can't think and remember things on the spot. Let's see. So I love Europe and North America. The industry is saturated. Only like you can bring jobs. I applied to more. Where do you live specifically? And I don't know, like, there are jobs. Yes, it's saturated, but I guess like anything is saturated. The truth is not everybody is going to become a developer or programmer. It's the facts of life. Yes, there may be more competition right now, but you just have to figure out where are you not competitive and try to fix those things. Like, yes, you have to do the work. You have to figure out, but there are jobs. There's jobs available. And a lot of times there's might be a reason why you're not getting the jobs. Like a friend of mine just switched jobs. I do another friend just got hired, and their resume is amazing. I'm not gonna lie to you, and they know how to sell themselves. But yeah, like it's saturated. It's hard to get jobs, but that could be true about any field, like, you know. And so, to me, honestly, like, if you apply to more than 5K entry-level jobs in front end and you have an amazing portfolio with 5 projects, yeah, send me your resume and your portfolio at codingafter30@gmail.com, codingafter30@gmail.com, and I'd love to take a look at it. And I'm also have a friend who's going to help me because he has more knowledge in hiring people. We're gonna make a bunch of videos where we're reviewing portfolios and resumes and giving feedback. And the way it's gonna work, we're gonna review and give general, like, kind of what the issues are on my channel, and then on his channel he's gonna talk about how to fix the resume or what to do to be able to improve your chances of getting a job. So yes, if any one of you interested in reviewing your resume or reviewing your portfolio, yes, send me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com with a link. Again, I'm not an expert in resumes, but I do have a friend who knows a thing or two, so we're gonna work and collab together to get that stuff done. Because I have, like, I'm just gonna say this, I love Europe and North America. This is gonna sound like, I don't know if it's harsh, but when I was a young lad and I was looking to meet a girl, like, I was looking for 1% chance. So that's, if I talk to 100 girls, one of them would say yes. So let me tell you, if I talk to 5,000 girls and I got 1% return, which is basically guaranteed response in sales, like, that's a lot of girls. And so what I would say, at least that's more than one. You guys math wizards could do that math there. So when you say you have 5,000 entries, like, and resumes, it's hard for me, like, unless there's something specifically wrong with your resume and portfolio that is not allowing you to get a job. But I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot of the times. But that's what I would say. Like, your odds of getting a developer job, like, are worse than my odds when I was younger getting a girlfriend, which was really, really, really hard for me. When I was younger, I had a higher chance of becoming a web developer than finding a girlfriend. I know it's hard to believe, but it's a fact. So, probably another answer you weren't looking for. But yeah, send me your resume and your portfolio, and I'll be more than happy to go over it and give you some feedback. Cloud coding, I have a client. I'm going to create a calculator for that gets it. And get an API for cryptocurrency prices. I want to know that when I fetch the API, does the info I retrieve update itself? It basically depends, like how the API is written, if that's the functionality of the API. For instance, if you have, like, if the data you're retrieving is updated in the back end, then yeah, you're going to get the new data. Or do you have to write, specific code that has to cause that to happen in the API? It really depends how your API works, and you could find it out through reading the documentation on the API. Unless you're writing that API yourself, then you write that implementation yourself. But usually when you want stuff to update, somewhere there's a code that does that. So if you didn't write it, you have to write it. Listen, Adrian, just because I'm Russian doesn't mean I'm a hacker. No, I'm just kidding. So I actually been in US for a very long time, even though I speak Russian and I write Russian because I speak Russian to my mom. I look everything up in English. And yes, there's a lot of great stuff in Russian, but to me, like, I'm more comfortable doing everything in English, and it's just less of a hassle just to look stuff up in my, now I would say is more of my native language than Russian. And so I look everything up in English. So if I can't find something in English, I would say there's a problem, because there's so many resources available. But yeah, if you want to find super secret stuff about hacking or anything that's crazy, yeah, searching it in Russian is amazing. I do that even with martial arts. Like, I wanted to learn some secret sambo, like, or Russian judo stuff. I would search stuff in Russian and get a lot better material than searching in English. But when it comes to coding, for me, it's like just look stuff up in English. What languages are popular in Texas? There are jobs available in JavaScript, C#. There's Python jobs available with data science. So if you pick any of those popular languages like C#, ASP.NET, Python, React, and JavaScript, there's plenty of jobs available. In my case, I felt that I had the easiest time getting a React and JavaScript job, and there was plenty of those available in Texas. So that's what I did, and that's what I applied to. So cloning counting, if you didn't just see my example, I would say using React is not overkill, unless like you have a website and you just want to add a widget to it, like, I don't know, like a weather widget, and everything else is basically just simple HTML and CSS. Yeah, but if you're building like a complex app, I would never use vanilla JavaScript for that. I would, like, because it would just be too much extra effort for doing something that React makes nice and easy. So if you're building small apps or little widgets, vanilla JavaScript is fine. But if you're building like a full app, me personally, I would do some sort of framework. And if I didn't do React, I would do it with Angular or Vue.js. I would not go with vanilla JavaScript. You should know vanilla JavaScript, and you should be able to do all those things. But I don't know anybody who creates like complex applications with vanilla JavaScript at this point. Hey Luke, thank you for staying up with us. I really appreciate it. You've been supporting my channel since I had like 90 or 80 or like 2 subscribers, whatever. You're like one of the original supporters. Man, listen, I will answer any question I can answer, even if the answer I give you guys maybe not the one you're looking for. And I really appreciate all of you guys and you, Luke, for all the support and everything you guys do, because without you guys, this channel would not exist. So yeah, we're going to finish in a few minutes because it's going on an hour and 45 minutes. But I do these live streams every Friday, 11:55 p.m. Eastern time. Always fun. I always like enjoy answering your questions. So what I'm going to do is just go through these last questions that I have here queued up, and then we'll next 5-10 minutes, and then we'll call it a night. Cloud coding, if you have a portfolio and resume, you could send it now, like or whatever you have now, because any feedback you get will help you to update it and make it better. So, definitely send it our way. don't have to wait. Yeah, so yeah, definitely send the stuff. I'm just looking at comments. Somehow they got ahead of me. Let's see. Listen, if you guys showing up here, trolling, not trolling, whatever, I don't care. But yes, this is a nice community, and I would like to like keep it, constructive. To me, it's important, because the way, like, I don't want to talk about my views about trolling. I come from like, yeah, forget it. Like, it's fine. Anyway, thank you. Yeah, Nan is a funny one. Yeah, like I said, I love Europe and North America. To be honest with you, like, if you're still having an issue, the problem is probably with your resume or your projects. So what I would do, definitely send me your resume and your projects, and I'll give you some feedback. Because 5,000 like resumes sent and nobody even like said like, hey, let's give you an interview. That's weird. That's being honest with you. So definitely send me your stuff. I definitely want to look at it and give you an advice to help you get a job, I love Europe and North America. Mobile development is good if that's something you want to do. That's also saturated based on like what you're saying. Marketing, by the way, like I've done marketing. It's not easy, and it's boring as hell. And there's different types of marketing. But if you're doing stuff where you're like managing like SEO campaigns, like Google ads, Facebook ads, not only like there's so many different skills you have to have that, to me, like, unless you like it, yeah, go ahead. But marketing, you need to know copywriting. You need to know like stuff about advertising, products, like so much stuff you need to learn. It's just also hard, very difficult. Like I started with marketing, I switched to web development because I enjoy it a little bit more. But marketing is a good field. So if someone doesn't like web development, marketing is a great place for them to go. But this is like, I don't think anybody would come here to learn marketing. This is coding after 30. It's not like marketing after 30. So marketing is a great field if you like it. If you hate people, if you hate talking, if you hate selling, if you hate working with numbers and with data, marketing is not for you. But I guess you could say it about any field. But yeah, definitely, like, listen, I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. I'm just saying this group is about switching careers late in life into web development, because that's what I chose to do. And so the people that come here are people that want to do the same thing. I'm sure there's like, and if someone decides coding is not for them, marketing might be better. Who knows, Yeah, good night, Luke. I thought you left, but I saw you said good night, so I'm going to say good night again. Man, love you. It is true, like getting your first job is the hardest thing to do, and it really depends on, and maybe certain areas like Europe are more saturated than others, but to break into the field is the hardest thing to do. Like, it's like going into space on a space shuttle. The amount of fuel and effort you require to build a momentum to break through and get into space, it just requires massive effort. And a lot of times, like sometimes the effort we put in, we might think we're putting in massive effort, and we're just not. We're not like if you're not getting a job, yeah, it's saturated, it's hard. But are you networking? Do you know like people at companies that you could give your resume to, that they could give to people that are able to hire? You know how I got my job? One of them at least. I knew somebody that knew somebody that when I gave them my resume, they gave it to that person. And that's basic networking. And if maybe you're sending your resumes to people is such a passive approach that, yeah, it's probably not going to be as effective as building connections, networking with people, and being a place. Like, I know like 5 different people at 4 different companies, which all told me, Paul, if you're going to apply here, don't apply by sending your resume because they'll never get seen. Give me your resume and I'll give it to my manager. And that's the type of relationship you need to go and know. And so, like, dating wise, it's like, yeah, I could cold call girls and see which one will like me. Probably the chance of me being introduced to one like that is 0. But if I have a friend of a friend that could introduce us, that I have a much better chance of getting that relationship or getting that job. Because once someone, like, if I were introducing someone, like, I'll use anybody. I'll use you, Love Europe and North America. Let's say I worked at a company and you knew me because you were my friend, and you're like, Paul, at your company, can I give you my resume? Can you give it to a manager? And I like you. I would be like, yeah. And I'll be like, hey, manager, I have this friend. I love Europe and North America. He's really good. This is what he does. He's really good with JavaScript and React. I think he's going to be an amazing fit for this company. I know you have a bunch of resumes, but let me show you. Take a look at his resume. And you know what? He'll be the best person for you to interview. And you know what? That manager will be like, hey, thanks. I trust you. You've been working at this company for 2 years. Your opinion matters. I will interview, I love Europe and North America. And at least you'll get an interview. But that's sometimes what you need to do to get your first job. But a lot of people, it's hard to go through that extra effort. But breaking into your field, to break in is really hard, very difficult. And so I feel your pain. And guess what? What you're going through is what everybody else will have to go through, regardless of where you live. And you will have to put in that extra credit, and you have to basically resort to whatever it takes. If I have to make friends with people on LinkedIn or whatever, social network, if I have to go to meetups, I know with the pandemic is tough, I would do whatever it takes. And that's what you have to do. Yeah, I love Europe and North America. Man, I'm so curious to see your resume and your portfolio. Definitely send it to me because I want to see what is going on. Because what I will do, I will literally go over it, and if it's amazing and it's good, I will use your resume and portfolio to apply for a job and see what happens. You know what I mean? Because I'm curious now. If you can't get a job, you had a 4-month free contract job. Free contract jobs are good, yeah, it's good experience. But listen, it took I don't want to tell people the hard work it took me to get my first job because I don't want to discourage anybody, but it's the truth. Everybody's got to put in their time and put in their work. The world is not fair with everyone. My ex-wife wasn't fair with me either. Listen, I want to say this life advice. I'm 40 years old, and I'm sure when I'll be 60, I'll have some life advice to give that will trump this life advice. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you a job. Nobody owes you anything. That's life. Life is not fair. When people give you something, it's out of the goodness of their heart, but they don't own it to you. They don't owe it to you. You know what I'm saying? You got to do it yourself. And listen, remove the trolls, whatever, I get it, Q. And I just want to tell you the truth. And I'm glad that we have someone. And listen, he probably means well. And I give anybody a chance, because it gets to kind of get to the truth of things, because you could only keep it up for so long. And this helps those who are serious about it and committed to making the change in their life to actually acknowledge the fact that it's not easy and it takes time and it takes, effort. And so, listen, he may be trolling, he may be absolutely right, but let us look at his resume and portfolio and make that decision ourselves. So definitely love to see it. And listen, no hate. It's just the nature of YouTube, bro. You know what I'm saying? If sometimes someone puts comments that people find like are not constructive enough, or you're trying to convince people otherwise, there's a way of doing it in a constructive way, and there's a way of doing it in ways that are not constructive. So listen, you know, I get it, but I don't think you're trolling hard. If you are trolling, like if you really want to troll, you could up your game. But honestly, bro, if you can't get a job, send me your resume and your portfolio, and I really legitimately want to help you to get your job and make it. Yes, and this is the linguist. The point I was trying to get to. There are 70 million people in the Netherlands, and not everyone is aspiring to be a web developer. I want to be a web developer. You want to be a web developer. Most of the people in this chat want to be web developers. So we are a very biased group that if I say out of everybody in this group, 90% of you want to be web developers. And that will lead me to believe the market is saturated. There's no jobs available. No, it's because we're all in a circle of the 1 or 10% of people that actually want to be developers. And in this group, it's 100%. But in the world, it's not everybody. And there's a shortage, and there's going to be a shortage moving forward of developers. And the field is only going to get, you know, bigger and bigger. And there's going to be more jobs available as we move into the future. And that's the fact. And so that is the case. So, like, when I used to, like, in America, majority of people are obese and overweight, and I'm kind of gaining weight myself. But when I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, I was in top shape. I was a fighter. Everybody that I hung out with was a fighter. Everybody was in shape. Everybody had a sexy six-pack. And to say that everybody in the world has a six-pack based on the group I hung out with would seem fair, because everybody I was friends with was fit. That's because the circle I was hanging out with. But still, majority of people are in US are still overweight. And so it, you know what I mean? That argument, like, whatever. I don't even know where I'm going with this argument, except the fact that there are jobs. You can get it if you put in the work and you do the things that you need to get a job. Listen, if I asked 5,000 girls for a date and I got 0 dates, it's not the girls. There's something wrong with me, 100%. That's the common denominator, you know? And so, like, and I'm saying, I love Europe. I appreciate, like, I definitely want to help you. And everybody goes through bad times in life. If I told you my life story, guys, like, you would, like, I could write a book of what I've been through. The only reason I tell you my life story is because every one of you here, everyone and each of you went through dark moments. Stuff that you would think about and be like, man, how am I ever going to recover? Everybody has struggles. I don't have to tell you about my life to know how hard your life is, because you all know, you know, you all know what it's like. You all have the dark moment. You all struggle. And you know what? You just do the work. You power through it. That's all I'm going to say. And that's the way it is. But anyway, I appreciate all of you guys. Q, I love you for all your support. Keep it up. You know, listen, thank you for all of you guys, you know, coming out and supporting. And once in a while, I don't care. Like, we will have trolls. And what I would say my policy for trolling are, like, I don't know if the person's trolling or not. And if he is, clearly it's fine. But the best thing we could do is just give constructive criticism and just not listen to stuff that we feel is not appropriate for us and not feed the fire. But I really think I love Europe and North America. If he's really serious about getting a job, he's going to send me his resume and his portfolio to review and give him honest feedback to help him get out of this dark place in his life and make a change. And all of you guys, by the way, we do have a Slack community. You could join it. You could email me at codingafter30@gmail.com. And Kit Kat, great to see you. It's been 2 hours since we started the stream, so we're on the tail end. We're probably going to say our goodbyes very soon, but I will have this posted for later viewing. I do want to find another time which makes sense for other people in the world. They can't make it at the time that I have it. But it's been an amazing stream. So the last thing I'm going to say, guys, listen, no matter who you are, where you are, we all have our struggles. We all go through dark times. But at the end of the day, no one owes you anything. The world doesn't owe you anything. If you're going to pick yourself up, you got to pick yourself up. You know, you got to do the work yourself. Don't cry me a river of tears, because even I don't care. The only thing I care about is when I have people that really want to change, willing to do the work, doing the work, and I respect that. And that's the people that I want to engage with, and that's the people I want to talk to and have in my community. And my community, like on my Slack channel, I don't handhold nobody. You know what I mean? And so you're not going to last in this community if you're not willing to pull yourself out of your dark times, put in the work, go the extra mile, and struggle and get it done, you know? And so that's what I'm going to say about that, you know? But yeah, but all in all, you guys all are awesome. Logic, thank you for joining us. Everybody, thank you for joining us. I think I'm going to cut the stream here. I just want to say I love all of you guys, all the conversations we have here. Amazing. Without you guys, I would not be here. This channel would not be here. So every time you are here, it just warms my heart. And I just love the time we spent together. And with that being said, guys, listen, I'm looking at the comments. I'm like, man, I could have this conversation for hours and hours and hours. And it's all view time on YouTube. Listen, I love Europe and North America. For you to assume that somebody has darker times than you is retarded. I'm going to get demonetized for using the word retarded. But you can't make assumptions about people you don't know. We're going out of our way to help you, and you're trying to say dark times ahead of times. Listen, we all had dark times. And like listen, I went out of my way to be nice to you. Send me your resume, send me your portfolio. And that's gonna prove to everybody in this chat that you're serious about getting a job, and nobody's gonna call you a troll. All right, I gave you my email, codingafter30@gmail.com. Anyway, Q, thank you. Logix, thank you. The Linguist, thank you. Everybody, thank you. Adrian, thank you. Everybody else here, thank you. We're going to sign out and go. I appreciate all of you guys. I got nothing but love for you guys. Keep grinding. Keep us posted. I will see you guys next week. Same time, same bat channel. By the way, if you want to help out the channel, if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. If you want to help out the channel, check out some of the other videos that I have posted. But with that being said, thank you for watching. Yeah, Coffee Code Chat. We made it this far. I love all of you guys. And you guys have a good night. I salute you guys for your effort and putting up with me and everything else. Have a good night, everybody. Have a good weekend. And yes, we could continue this channel conversation at the Slack. You could join at codingafter30@gmail.com. And I will see everybody next time. Next time, I will see each other. Okay, finally saying goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. I have the longest goodbyes. That's it. I have nothing more to say. Done.